Oh.
Do you mind, Chris, since we haven't started, the rule is, unless it's Anna. I was full on reading. Are you ever going to let me forget that day? I'm thinking not.
Probably not. Not for another month.
Okay. All right, let's do a little bit at 200, just to make sure your fingers don't explode on 225, then we'll go right on up. And there's 200. Ready? Tell us, what does that mean?
When there is a discipline problem on the bus that you think you want the school to know about, you write them up on these forms that they give you.
These are forms that the school gives you.
The school provides them, or you can go into the bus company and get them.
Had you ever written Mr. Fry up before?
I had written him up once before.
Do you recall when in the school year that was?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you recall why he was written up?
Oh, yes.
What was that for?
It was reported to me, and I reported it to the school from this man because I did not witness it. But it was reported to me from 3 or 4 girls that he was sitting in his seat, exposing himself.
Do you have that report with you today?
No.
What did you do with it?
I gave it in to the school.
Did you keep a copy of it?
No, I didn't.
Did the bus company keep a copy of it?
I don't know.
Is there a procedure then for filling out these forms and who is supposed to get this type of information?
I know I filled out the form and handed it to the teacher who was outside the bus when the bus arrived at the school.
Did you realize this is a fairly serious allegation? Did you?
Yes.
Does your bus company ever keep any of these forms?
I don't know.
Do you turn them into them?
Yes.
Do you ever tell people about them?
What do you mean by tell people about them?
If you are having a particular problem with a child on a route, is there anything to your knowledge that the bus company could do in terms of correcting the situation?
If there is a major problem, they can contact the school. But basically, the driver can contact the school on his own.
All right, let's go up to 210. About that same length. Oh, maybe a little longer at 210. Ready? This incident that you alluded to where you had written up Mr. Fry for this incident, you did not witness this personally, you said?
No.
Did you ever follow up with anyone about that?
No, I did not.
Did anyone ever contact you or follow up with you about this from the school?
No.
Can you identify these young ladies that made this allegation?
No.
So from September in '02 up until the time of this incident when you had written Mr. Fry up, that was the only time you had to write him up?
Since I was new at this, I wanted to try to do my job without writing up students, discipline them without writing them up unless it was absolutely necessary, and I felt this was absolutely necessary.
So I take it your answer is a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Where was Mr. Fry's assigned seat?
I don't remember if he was in his assigned seat at that time. I don't remember.
What was his assigned seat?
I don't remember.
Was it in the front of the bus, the back of the bus?
The back of the bus.
Since this incident occurred, did you have any problems with Mr. Fry on the bus for the remainder of the year?
No.
Did you drive the same route the next year?
Not the next year or after the incident.
Let me back up so we have it straight. You stayed on that route for half of the school year.
Yes.
When you started up again in September of 2003, did you have the same route?
No.
Did you go to the same school?
No.
So you were driving under another contract that the bus company had with some other school?
Yes.
Now, since June of 2003, have you had any contact at all with Mr. Fry?
No.
How about with his family?
No.
When he came back to school, was he riding your bus?
Yes.
I am talking about immediately after this incident occurred where he hit his head. You said he was out of school for 4 days, is that right?
Yes.
So when he came back to school, he was riding on your bus?
Yes.
Did you have any conversations with him during that period of time when he came back after this incident in June of 2003?
No.
Did he have any conversations with you about it?
No, he never spoke to me.
You testified earlier that you provided some sort of a written report to your employer.
Yes.
Did you observe Mr. Fry throwing this can from the rearview mirror that you testified to about before?
Yes.
You saw that in your rearview mirror?
Yes, I did.
Did you observe the young lady throw it back at him in the rearview mirror?
Yes.
How often did that take place on this day? Did it happen more than once?
Yes.
How many times did you see him throw it?
I saw him throw it twice.
Did you see the girl throw it twice too?
Yes, she threw it back at him twice, and then he didn't throw it again.
After the second time, did you want to put a stop to it?
Yes, I was afraid someone would get hurt.
And your plan to do this was to get the two people separated, you said?
Yes.
And that's when you told Mr. Fry to move up to the front of the bus?
Yes.
Did you get all those rear view mirrors? RFMs, right? All right, let's go up to 225 now. And we'll do a little longer take at 225. Ready? You don't.
Okay.
Ms. Chambers, my name is Christopher Barr. I represent the plaintiffs in an action as a result of a motor vehicle accident that happened in 2002. I would like to ask you some questions about that incident as well. That is, some questions about the circumstances that followed the accident, and I will ask that you have me repeat or rephrase any question that I ask of you that you don't understand, okay?
Okay.
I will ask that all your responses be verbal responses so that the court reporter can take it down, all right?
All right.
At any time you need to take a break for any reason, don't hesitate to ask. That's your choice, okay?
All right.
Tell us your full name, please.
Jane Chambers.
Your present address.
891 West Belmont Avenue.
How long have you lived there?
I have been there 2 years now.
Where did you live prior to that?
719 West Strawberry Street,
And that's in Orange.
Orange, California.
Were you living at the Strawberry Street address on the day of the accident?
Yes.
Do you recall the date of the accident?
It was July 13, 2002.
Do you recall what day of the week that was?
No, I don't. I believe it was a Saturday, but I'm not 100% sure. It could have been a Sunday.
With whom, if anyone, did you reside at the Belmont Avenue address?
With my children,
What are your children's names?
Daryl and Kareem.
And how old is Daryl?
Daryl is 6.
And how old is Kareem?
He's 14 now.
At the Strawberry Street address on the day of the accident, who did you live with?
My 2 children, Daryl and Kareem.
Are you married?
No.
Have you ever been married?
No.
On 7/13/02, the date of this accident, were you operating a motor vehicle?
Yes, I was.
What type of car were you operating?
It was a Chevy.
What was the year of that car?
I believe it was an 01.
Who was the owner of the car?
I was the owner.
Was it registered in your name only?
Yes, it was.
When did you purchase the car or obtain title to the car?
It was about 2 months before the accident.
Did you purchase the car or was it given to you?
It was given to me.
What model of Chevy was that car?
It was a Corsica.
You said the car was given to you. Who gave the car to you?
It was a friend.
Who was that friend?
It was my boyfriend.
What was his name?
It was Ricky.
What was Ricky's last name?
Santana.
Where did Mr. Santana reside?
7th and Oxford. I don't remember the
Does
address.
he reside there now?
I don't know.
He resided there when you got the car from him?
Right.
At the time of the accident, were you covered by any automobile insurance?
No.
Was your car insured by any automobile insurance on the day of the accident?
No, it was not.
Was it ever covered during the course of the time that you owned it before the accident?
No.
What did you use the car for?
To go shopping, to go to the spa.
To go where?
At that time, I was going to the spa.
A spa?
Yes.
Which spa was that?
It was Valley's.
Which one?
The one on East Road.
Would it be fair to say that it was for personal use, the automobile, the Corsica?
Yes.
Were you employed at the time of the accident?
No.
When was the last time that you were employed?
You mean before the accident?
Yes.
It was 2000 or 2002.
And with whom were you employed then?
University of Chapman.
As what? What was your job?
I was a data entry clerk.
Why did you leave that employment?
Well, at the time, I was having problems with my oldest son.
I have 2 markers. I have 2 markers. I picked the wrong one. All right, 225 working for you? Well, let's try it again. So there were day of the accident briefs, and I tried to change them all, but I didn't change them all. So we have that one, day of the accident, time of the accident, before the accident, after. Okay, we'll just do the 300 then. Okay, no. 225 again. Would you state your name, please?
Sarah Childs.
I am going to ask you some questions today. The defendant's attorney in the court may ask you some questions as well. Please remember to keep your voice up so that the judge and the jurors and the court reporter can hear you, all right?
Yes.
Now, I am going to ask you to think back to July 8, 2004. On that date, did you see anyone that you see in the courtroom right now?
Yes.
Can you point to the person that you've identified?
Right there.
So you are identifying the defendant?
Yes.
Where were you when you saw the defendant?
I was over at Jenny's house.
Where does Jenny live?
She lives on Holly
And
Drive,
do you know what 100 block?
the 5400 block.
And is that here in Chelsea?
Yes, it is.
When you were there on that date, do you remember what time it was? Was it in the morning, the afternoon, or at night that you first saw the defendant?
I think it was in the afternoon.
Now tell us if you knew the defendant before July the 8th.
Yes.
How did you know him?
He used to be my boyfriend.
On July 8, 2004, was he your boyfriend?
No.
So he was your boyfriend before that time?
Yes.
When was the last time he had been your boyfriend?
About 3 weeks before that.
So on that date, on July 8, 2004, can you just, in your own words, tell the court and jury how it came to be that you and he were at the same place at the same time?
Somebody told him where I was at.
All right, then what happened?
He came at me. He started punching me, saying, "I don't love you no more either." He started beating me. He picked up a crowbar and hit me in the head with it.
Wait a minute. When he first came into the house, how did he get in?
Jenny let him in.
At any time, did you ask if he could come in the house?
No.
When the defendant came into Jenny's house, what, if anything, did he say to you?
He started screaming, "I don't love you no more either."
Did you say anything to the defendant?
No.
What happened next?
He started picking up furniture and throwing it around.
What furniture did the defendant pick up?
A television table, the chair in front of the television, whatever he saw, he picked it up and threw it around.
Then what happened next, if anything?
He hit me with the crowbar.
Do you know where he got the crowbar from?
And Jenny had it in her house.
Could you show me with your hands how big this crowbar was?
About like that.
You're showing us it was about a foot long?
I guess, I don't know.
What was the crowbar made of, if you know?
Steel, I guess.
What did he do with the crowbar?
He hit me with it.
Where did he hit you?
He hit my head, my knees, and I got hit in the face. He caught me on the chin. I tried to duck, but he caught me on the chin.
How many times, if you know, did the defendant hit you with the crowbar?
I don't know. He swung it at me so many times, but because of where I'm hurt, I guess about 5 times.
When the defendant hit you with the crowbar, was it a hard hit or was it just a soft swipe?
Oh no, he hit me hard. He was swinging hard.
At that point, when he was hitting you with the crowbar, was he saying anything to you?
He was screaming at me. He was screaming, "I'll kill you. I'll kill you."
Yeah.
Jenny.
All right, you ready for some? You ready for some let's see. 225. Let's go up to 230. We'll go on our way. So, did you do this?
No.
Pretty handy. All right. 2:30. What were you doing?
Trying to get away from him.
What were you doing to try to get away from him?
I was running. I was trying to hide. I was trying to get out of the house. I was trying to do whatever I could.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What was the last thing you said?
Whatever I could. I shut the door so he could not get to me in the other room.
When the defendant first hit you, which room were you in?
I was in the bedroom.
And is this a house or an apartment?
Well, it's an apartment.
After he hit you the first time, what did you do?
I started running out of the room. There was nowhere to run to.
Besides hitting you with the crowbar, did the defendant do anything else?
Yes, he kicked me in the head. I had fallen down, and while I was on the ground, he kicked me in the head.
How many times did he kick you?
Once, maybe twice, but I got up.
When he was kicking you, did he have any shoes on?
I think he had sneakers on. I'm not sure.
At any point, did you hit the defendant?
No.
At any point, did you have any weapons on you?
No.
Now, you indicated that Jenny was in her house, right?
Yes.
Besides yourself, Jenny and the defendant, was anyone else there?
No.
When the defendant was doing these things to you, what, if anything, was Jenny doing that you could see?
She was screaming at him. She was pulling at him. She was trying to get him off of me.
What was she doing to try to get him off of you?
She jumped on the bed to try to get him away from me. She shoved him. She tried to block him from going into rooms when he was chasing me.
At some point, did the defendant stop?
No.
For about how long was it that the defendant was hitting you with the crowbar and kicking you?
About 20 minutes. I don't know. I was unconscious.
What happened next that you know of?
Well, I was in the hospital.
Which hospital did you go to?
Mercy Hospital.
When you were at Mercy Hospital, what parts of your body did they look at?
My head, my chin, and my neck. That's all I know.
How long were you in the hospital?
I was there about 3 days.
As a result of the defendant hitting you with the crowbar, were you hurt?
Yeah, I couldn't get a lot of medical treatment. I had no insurance.
What did you do for your injuries?
I treated them myself, and my mom helped me out.
All right, let's go up to 240 then. Ready for 240? Here comes headaches. Do you have headaches? Did you notice the UNTS and what happened before or after? Offer? All right, so we'll go to here. I'll just put this on here in case I wonder where you were. All right, 240. Tell me what was the main injury you had?
Well, I've got a lot of headaches.
When did you start to get the headaches?
I get headaches often.
Had you had headaches before this happened?
No, I had not.
When you were at the hospital, what did they do for your body?
They had to stitch me up.
Can you point and show the judge and jury where they stitched you up?
Yes.
I would like to indicate for the record that the witness has identified a scar on her forehead, which is approximately 2.5 inches long and about 1 inch wide. This is in more or less a crescent shape. Did you notice the end of the crowbar, the shape of the end of the crowbar?
Well, it was like curved.
All right, and you are also indicating on your chin an area where there is a scar which is about 1.5 inches long.
Yes.
Now, ma'am, the first scar that you showed the judge, the one on your forehead, do you know how many stitches you received there?
About 30.
30 stitches?
Yes.
And how about on your chin?
About 10.
Did you have to receive any further treatment for those scars?
Well, I can't. I'd like to have them cosmetically removed, but I just get treated for the headaches.
Have doctors told you whether or not the scars will remain?
As they are now, they are permanent.
Your doctor told you they are permanent?
Yes, unless I have something cosmetically done.
You indicated that you were in the hospital for 3 days, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge why it was that you were in the hospital for 3 days?
I don't know. I was unconscious. The right side of my head was hurt. There was something wrong with my head.
Do you know what it was? Have the doctors explained to you what happened to your head?
I didn't understand what they told me.
Now, on July 8, 2004, do you remember about how much you weighed?
I'd say about 110.
How tall are you, ma'am?
I'm 4'11".
Before July 8, 2004, did you have any other medical conditions?
Yes, I had kidney disease.
When did that kidney disease develop?
When I was a child.
Was that before or after the accident?
Before.
Let me finish the question. Was it before or after the defendant hit you as you have described to the court?
Before.
And before that date, had you told the defendant about your kidney disease?
Yes, he knew I had kidney disease.
Now, you said that you stopped seeing the defendant, Mr. Cook, about 3 weeks prior to the incident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you living with your sister Joan?
Yes.
And on the date of the accident, you had not been home for 2 or 3 days. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And at that time, you have told the court before, during the preliminary hearing, and you admitted honestly that you were smoking crack cocaine. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
During that period of time, Mr. Cook was very upset concerning your use of that drug. Is that right?
Yes, but so did he. He smoked crack too.
He was particularly concerned with you using that drug because you had this disease. Is that right?
I don't think so. He wanted it all to himself is all it was.
You said that Mr. Cook found out where you were through someone else based on your knowledge?
Yes.
Who told Mr. Cook where he could find you?
Well, I'm not sure.
At some point in time during the day, Mr. Cook came over to Jenny's house. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, is Mr. Davis a friend of yours?
Yes, she is.
That's Jenny, right?
Right.
Is she in court today?
No, she is not.
Has she ever been interviewed by the police concerning the incident?
I really don't know.
Now, you went to the hospital on July 8th, the day this incident occurred. Is that right?
Yes.
And how did you get to the hospital?
The ambulance came. Jenny called. She was able to call 911 and get the police there.
No further questions. So I called her. All right, let's do. How's the 240? Good? Great?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do that at 225, and then we'll go back up to 240 with some speed building before the tests. But we'll just repeat that part we just did at 225, so you can practice those for you. All right, 225 again. Tell me, what was the main injury you had?
Well, I've got a lot of headaches.
When did you start to get the headaches?
I get headaches often.
You had headaches before this happened?
No, I had not.
When you were at the hospital, what did they do for your body?
They had to stitch me up.
Can you point and show the judge and the jury where they stitched you up?
Yes.
I would like to indicate for the record that the witness has identified a scar on her forehead which is approximately 2.5 inches long and about 1 inch wide. This is in more or less a crescent shape. Did you notice the end of the crowbar, the shape of the end of the crowbar?
Well, it was like curved.
All right, and you are also indicating on your chin an area where there's a scar which is about 1.5 inches long.
Yes.
Now, ma'am, the first scar that you showed the judge, the one on your forehead, do you know how many stitches you received there?
About 30.
30 stitches?
Yes.
And how about on your chin?
About 10.
Do you have to receive any further treatment for those scars?
Well, I can't. I'd like to have them cosmetically removed, but I just get treated for the headache.
Have doctors told you whether or not the scars will remain?
As they are now, they are permanent.
Your doctor told you they are permanent?
Yes, unless I have something cosmetically done.
You indicated that you were in the hospital for 3 days. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge why it was that you were in the hospital for 3 days?
I don't know. I was unconscious. The right side of my head was hurt. There was something wrong with my head.
Do you know what it was? Have the doctors explained to you what happened to your head?
I didn't understand what they told me.
Now, on July 8, 2004, do you remember about how much you weighed?
I'd say about 110.
How tall are you, ma'am?
I'm 4'11".
Before July 8, 2004, did you have any other medical conditions?
Yes, I had kidney disease.
When did that kidney disease develop?
When I was a child.
Was that before or after the defendant?
Before.
Let me finish the question. Was it before or after the defendant hit you as you have described to the court?
Before.
And before this date, had you told the defendant about your kidney disease?
Yes, he knew I had kidney disease.
Now, you said that you stopped seeing the defendant, Mr. Cook, about 3 weeks prior to the incident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you living with your sister Joan?
Yes.
And on the date of the incident, you had not been home for 2 or 3 days. Is that right?
Yes.
And at that time, you have told the court before, during the preliminary hearing, and you admitted honestly that you were smoking crack. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
During that period of time, Mr. Cook was very upset concerning your use of that drug. Is that right?
Yes, but so did he. He smoked crack too.
He was particularly concerned with you using that drug because you had this disease. Is that right?
I don't think so. He wanted it all to himself is all it was.
You said that Mr. Cook found out where you were through someone else based on your knowledge.
Yes.
Who told Mr. Cook where he could find you?
Well, I'm not sure.
At some point in time during the day, Mr. Cook came over to Jenny's house. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, is Ms. Davis a friend of yours?
Yes, she is.
That's Jenny, right?
Right.
Is she in court today?
No, she is not.
Has she ever been interviewed by the police concerning this incident?
I really don't know.
Now, you went to the hospital on July 8th, the day this incident occurred. Is that right?
Yes.
And how did you get to the hospital?
The ambulance came. Jenny called. She was able to call 911 and get the police there.
All right, let's speed build on a portion of that where what happened and before or after come up a couple of times. So WHAPD and BOFR, BOFR. All right, so let's do this. We'll do it 240, 250, 240.
Okay.
All right. Do you know what it was? Have the doctors explained to you what happened to your head?
I didn't understand what they told me.
Now, on July 8, 2004, do you remember about how much you weighed?
I'd say about 110.
How tall are you, ma'am?
I'm 4'11".
Before July 8, 2004, did you have any other medical conditions?
Yes, I had kidney disease.
When did that kidney disease develop?
When I was a child.
Was that before or after the defendant?
Before.
Let me finish the question. Was it before or after the defendant hit you as you have described to the court?
Before.
And before that date, had you told the defendant about your kidney disease?
Yes, he knew I had kidney disease.
Do you know what it was? Have the doctors explained to you what happened to your head?
I didn't understand what they told me.
Now on July 8, 2004, do you remember about how much you weighed?
I'd say about 110.
How tall are you, ma'am?
I'm 4'11".
Before July 8, 2004, did you have any other medical conditions?
Yes, I had kidney disease.
When did that kidney disease develop?
When I was a child.
Was that before or after the defendant?
Before.
Let me finish the question. Was it before or after the defendant hit you as you have described to the court?
Before.
And before that date, had you told the defendant about your kidney disease?
Yes, he knew I had kidney disease.
Do you know what it was? Have the doctors explained to you what happened to your head?
I didn't understand what they told me.
Now on July 8, 2004, do you remember about how much you weighed?
I'd say about 110.
How tall are you, ma'am?
I'm 4'11".
Before July 8, 2004, did you have any other medical conditions?
Yes, I had kidney disease.
When did that kidney disease develop?
When I was a child.
Was that before or after the defendant?
Before.
Let me finish the question. Was it before or after the defendant hit you as you have described to the court?
Before.
And before that date, had you told the defendant about your kidney disease?
Yes, he knew I had kidney disease.
All right, so control was at 240. Let's do our 3 240s. All right, so 240 number 1 will cap Mrs. Jones. And we were changing the painting to Smith is the name of the painting. Mr. Finley, Finley. Mr. Dunn, Dunn. Reynolds, so there's a Reynolds painting and a Smith painting. And maybe we'll get to Jarrett, Jarrett. All right. Turn that one up, please. All right, so this is 240, number 1 on 628. And it begins, we'll do question answer. Ready? I am not asking you about that. You may not tell me anything that I don't ask you about. I want to be clear. As I now understand your testimony, on the first occasion that you visited the house, you were more or less alone with Mrs. Jones, but you did not notice the 2 plaques. Is that correct?
That's correct, I
On
am.
the second time that you visited the house, you put on your glasses and you said, "This is a Smith." Is that right?
Yes.
You said that?
Yes, I did.
That was the first time that you had noticed this was a Smith?
Right.
You were not alone with Mrs. Jones at that time, but Mr. Finley was nearby?
Right.
On the subsequent occasion, Mr. Dunn came to the house.
Right.
And before he walked in the door, you already knew that was a Smith and Reynolds there, isn't that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Dunn was an artist, is that right?
Right.
And Mr. Dunn looked at the paintings, is that right?
He looked at the whole house.
He looked at these paintings in particular, is that right?
No, not particularly.
Well, when you went on over there, did he tell you that was a Smith?
No, I didn't.
You didn't mention there was a Smith and a Reynolds?
No.
He is an artist, right?
Right.
You were staying at the same place he was staying?
That's right.
Turn it off. Is everything still recording?
All right, number 2 has Jarrett, Jarrett, and Smith again, Reynolds, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Finley, same ones. All right, here we go, 240, number 2. Ready?
Mhm.
And that was the Jarrett house?
That's right.
And you didn't mention to him there was a Smith and a Reynolds in the house you were about to buy?
I said there were a lot of paintings in the house.
You didn't mention the 2 masters?
No.
Why not?
Because it was not important. I didn't think they were going to leave them anyhow.
All right, are you telling me now that you did not ask Mr. Dunn to take a look at the paintings and give you some idea what they were worth?
No, because Mr. Finley is an art collector, an art expert, and a dealer, so if anybody would have paintings in the house, I certainly am not going to ask Mr. Dunn. he was only interested in seeing the house, what kind of house I was interested in buying, and it had nothing to do because he was a painter. He later on said, my God, if they leave those paintings, they're worth $100,000, which I didn't know either.
So that before Mr. Dunn walked in the door of the house, you figured the paintings must be genuine because Mr. Finley was an art dealer?
Absolutely.
You were so convinced of that reasoning that you thought it unnecessary to ask Mr. Dunn to take a look at the paintings, is that right?
Mr. Dunn paints modern pictures. He is not an expert.
Who asked Mr. Dunn to come to the house?
He asked to come.
All right, and number 3, Mrs. Mason joins us, M-A-S-O-N, still have, and Mrs. Finley, Mr. Cooper, and that's it. All right, ready? 240, number 3. Who did he ask?
He asked me, he said, can we go and look at the house? I'd like to see the house. After all, if somebody is buying a new house and planning to move here, your friends want to see what you are buying.
Now, Mrs. Mason, I just want to take a look at the complaint again. In paragraph 7, if you notice, it says that the defendant represented the premises were in perfect condition and the plumbing and electrical systems were also in perfect condition. Did either Mr. or Mrs. Finley say the plumbing system was in perfect condition?
Yes, they did.
What did they say?
They said that everything was in perfect condition.
Did they use the word plumbing?
Well, I don't know if they used the word plumbing.
Did she say anything about the electrical system? Did she use the words electrical system?
Mr. Cooper, if somebody said everything was perfect condition, electrical and plumbing is included in that, in my mind.
I agree with you, Mrs. Mason. I wonder why you say in your complaint that the defendant represented that the premises were in perfect condition, and you go on to say that the plumbing and electrical systems were also in perfect condition. What did you mean by that?
In the upstairs room, there were 2 air conditioners.
I'm asking about the plumbing.
That is electrical.
All right, let's do a 225.
Mhm.
We'll slow it down. Yep. Okay, so we'll cap Billy M. Ferguson, F-E-R-G-U-S-O-N, Blue Grove, 2 words, and that's in Plano, Texas, P-L-A-N-O, Johnny, J-O-H-N-N-Y, Arlington, Texas Employment Commission, Waco, W-A-C-O, Ruth Ferguson, New York, Ellis County, North Texas State, and Green Hills Apartments, Sue Ferguson, First State Bank, and Mona Jackson. All right, so this is 225, number 1 on 628. And how do I do like that?
Mhm.
All right, ready? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Billy Ferguson,
Would you state your address, please?
210 Blue Grove, Plano, Texas.
Are you the same Billy Ferguson that acted as the executor of estate of Johnny Ferguson?
That's correct.
How are you related to Johnny Ferguson?
I am Johnny's nephew.
He was your uncle. Which side of your family?
He's my father's brother.
Where was he from, and what area did Johnny grow up in or reside most of his life?
Well, he pretty much grew up in Texas. He was born in Arlington.
Throughout his working life? What was his occupation, or what did he do?
He was employed with the Texas Employment Commission in Waco.
About how many years did he work there?
I don't remember exactly how many years it was.
Was he married?
Yes.
What was his wife's name?
Ruth Ferguson,
What area was she from?
New York.
Please describe your relationship with Johnny over the years during your lifetime.
I was his nephew.
How often did you see him
Recently,
throughout your childhood?
quite frequently, just before he died.
Let's say from the time you were a small child that you can remember. Let's say from the time you were 7 years old until you were 27 years old. How often did you see him? Annually, monthly?
Probably in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 times a year.
Did the relationship or the number of visits with him increase as you got older?
Yes.
Can you recall at what point you actually began to see him more often?
After I got married.
When were you married?
After I turned 23.
From around the time you were married up until the time you moved to Ellis County, how frequently would you visit him?
Monthly.
You stated you became married when you were 23 years old.
That is correct.
What was your occupation around the time you were married as far as making a living?
I attended college.
Where were you attending college?
I was going to North Texas State.
Did you graduate from there?
Yes, sir.
What year did you graduate?
1996.
When did Mr. Ferguson's wife die?
I don't remember the exact date.
Can you give us the exact year?
I think it was May, June, in the time period of 2000.
2000.
I think. I recently looked it up, but I already forgot it.
When she died, where were you living?
Waco,
When did your uncle move to Ellis County?
October 2003, I believe.
So he lived in Waco for over 2 years after his wife died?
That's correct.
Did he live with anyone in Waco following his wife's death, do you know?
No, only himself.
What was Johnny's physical condition during that time period just after his wife's death and prior to moving to Ellis County?
He was not well.
How old was he at that time, do you know?
I'm not sure.
How old was he when he died?
77?
Was your father alive during the period Johnny moved back to Ellis County?
Yes.
How close was your father to his brother?
Extremely close.
Who encouraged Johnny to move to Ellis County, if anyone?
I really don't know.
At what period was the decision made that Johnny would move back?
Pardon?
At what period was the decision made that he would move back to Ellis County? You stated he moved back in October of 2003.
I don't remember. That was basically discussed between him and my father.
Were you involved in moving him?
Yes.
Did you and your father assist him?
Yes.
In October of 2003, he returned to Ellis County. Afterwards, how long did your father live?
Until May of 2004.
He died then?
Yes.
Was his death somewhat of a surprise?
It certainly was.
What was the cause of his death?
Natural causes. He had bypass surgery in the past.
It had to do with his heart?
Probably.
What was the state of your uncle's health at the time your father passed away?
Excellent.
Where was he living at that time?
Green Hills Apartments.
Prior to your father's death, had Johnny executed power of attorney in favor of your father?
I can't recall.
You don't remember?
No, I can't recollect.
Your father died in May of 2004.
Yes, sir.
Could you state the exact date, please?
Yes, it was the 7th.
In May of 2004, did Johnny Ferguson execute a power of attorney in your favor?
Yes, sir.
Did he also execute a power of attorney in favor of your mom?
That's right.
Your mom is Sue Ferguson?
Yes.
Did this take place on May 25, 2004?
Yes, sir.
Did he execute more than one special and limited power of attorney in your favor?
No, sir.
Did he execute more than one special and limited power of attorney in favor of your mother?
No, sir.
Could you tell us the sole purpose for which he executed these special and limited powers of attorney?
To help him when he needed it.
Was it to make it more convenient for him to handle his affairs? Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
What else was it for?
I am unaware. He just requested that I would and agreed I would, so that was it.
Was anything discussed at the time these special and limited powers of attorney were signed? Was anything mentioned concerning his bank accounts during that meeting as far as adding your name to any signature cards or that sort of thing?
Yes.
Your name was added?
Yes.
What was your understanding of the purpose for doing that?
He wanted our names on there, that's all I know.
What was the state of his health during that day?
He was doing extremely well.
Was he planning any period of hospitalization at that time?
Not that I was aware of.
Back to the time these special and limited powers of attorney were signed by Johnny Ferguson on May 15, 2004, did he say he wanted to have anything specifically requested?
I really don't remember.
Where were you at the time the papers were signed?
First State Bank.
Were there any other people there as witnesses to this?
Mona Jackson.
She, Johnny, and you?
Yes.
Was your mom there?
She had a friend there with her.
Did you sign any checks on behalf of your uncle from May 16, 2004 until he went to the nursing home? All right, any questions? All right, let's do 240 number 2.
225.
225, whoops, sorry, already did that other. All right, I'll see, we'll cap Tropics Lounge. This one has 4 ways. So I just go right up. You go with that. I'll just go. All right, that's all the caps I see. Maybe Fullerton Police Department and Officer Sands, S-A-N-D-S. All right, so here we go, 225, number 2. Ready? When you reported it to the police, you tried to be as accurate as you could, didn't you?
Keep in mind, sir, I was pretty much in shock at the time. I was really upset and uptight.
I will keep that in mind, but if you tell me when you reported it to the police, whether you tried to be as accurate as you could.
Would I have been, or did I? Was I?
Did you try to be as accurate as you could?
Yes.
And about how old did you think this person who attacked you was?
I didn't really give that a great deal of thought, sir, in all honesty.
Did you have an opinion as to about how old the individual was?
I would say in the early 30s if I am guessing, but it would be guessing, sir.
And again, I am asking you to reflect back on the picture of the individual that you had in your mind at the time this happened, okay?
Uh-huh.
What type of hair did this individual have?
Well-groomed person, what I would describe as short cropped hair, kind of a short afro.
A short afro?
Well, maybe that's poor, but short cropped hair.
When you say afro, you mean, in other words, very tight, short, curly hair?
Yes.
What color was it?
Black.
Can you remember seeing the color of the individual's eyes?
The eyes were very intense, and they were dark.
When you say dark, dark brown?
Dark brown.
They weren't blue, right?
Not that I can recall, no. They appeared to be dark to me and very intense.
To the best of your recollection, they were brown or dark brown.
Yes, sir.
Can you say anything at all about the clothing that the individual was wearing?
I cannot, sir. I was looking at the face.
Do you know if they have a telephone there at the Tropics Lounge?
I don't recall seeing one.
Did you have any reason to believe they didn't have a phone in there?
No, sir.
Can you describe for me how it was? The person had their arm around your neck?
What do you mean exactly by how?
I will give you options. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but someone can have an arm around you from the front, or they can